Okay, so I want to go over the new post-PTB blog post that BHVR has put out. There's some good in it and some disappointing in it. So I'm going to actually start from the very bottom and work my way up because I have a lot to say about the night in particular. But they did make some adjustments to flashlights. So the buffer time has been increased to 0.4 seconds, up from a quarter second. Basically, so now if you blind the killer right before the animation's finished of them picking up a survivor, if as long as you get the blind within this buffer time of 0.4 seconds, when the killer gets the ability to move, they will immediately get stunned. Um, I don't mind this, but I think zero point 0.4 might be a little scary considering it wasn't working in the PTB. In the PTB, you could blind the killer at any point during the pickup animation and they would just immediately get stunned once it finished and drop the survivor, which was not intended. But that means we never got to actually see the quarter of a second buffer. And so them making it 0.4 seconds, it's a little interesting, also scary. And a lot of people are probably mad about this, but I personally, I don't really care. Like Dead by Daylight at core is a casual game, and BHVR has more often than not balanced the game, um, sometimes towards the casual side more than the competitive side. And flashlights are really hard to use. If you are not someone who spends 8 hours a day playing the game, you get home from work, right, and you want to load up and play maybe 1 or 2 matches of Dead by Daylight, you play like a killer game and a survivor game, oh, you bring a flashlight, I think this is perfectly fine. I don't know how this will affect like the more competitive player base, not necessarily like the comp scene or anything like that, but just like more competitively focused players, um, players with thousands of hours. I don't know how this will affect us really, but I think the casual players will greatly appreciate this change. Shattered Square, they've just made some slight adjustments to the color of the map, so it's not as red. It was really hard to see scratch marks, and if you were colorblind, it basically was unplayable. And they've also changed various models and textures on the map for like objectives so that it's more clear. Like, so pallets are more clear, hooks are more clear, so they don't blend in as much. Now here, I don't really see any pallets on screen in this particular screenshot. So I have no idea what the new palette model will look like for this map in particular. I just hope it's clear and is something that you can make out from a distance, because that was my really big issue with this particular map, and the new palette model that's on the other maps as well. Sometimes depending on the lighting and the color grading of the map, the palette blends right in. So we didn't have that problem with the palette that's on the live game right now. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm happy about that change. They also changed Face the Darkness. I thought this was just bugged on the PTB, but apparently it was just genuinely this inconsistent. So now they fixed it so that it's a 25-second interval between screams. It used to be random between 20 and 40 seconds, so that's a nice kind of quality of life change. And then they also made it so that the survivors no longer see the cursed survivor's aura. So it's harder to deactivate the perk. And then they just made the description a little more clear and concise. So that's nice. Got nothing else to say. Just these are all, in my opinion, good changes, and I'm interested to see how they play out. Now let's talk about the Knight, who I think they kind of dropped the ball on a little bit. They're all number tweaks, not really changes that I was hoping to see. And they're incentivizing the very uninteresting playstyle of just immediately placing your guard at a pallet loop and then zoning the survivor for free. And you could see that with the changes that they're making. And all the changes that they've made, at least to the base kit, are really, really minor buffs. Um, for instance, half a second difference, half a second difference, half a second difference. Nothing super extreme. Here you do see a little bit more oomph to the buffs, right? It's 2 extra seconds here and 3 extra seconds there. But I'm not sure if this really was gonna be enough. I was hoping to see things that incentivize patrolling and the order action and having guards like roam the map looking for survivors. Not so much just zoning people at pallet loops for free. That's really boring. They also expectedly nerfed most of the add-ons with a slight buff to one of them, but this makes sense. All these add-ons were fucking insane. So this is now 4 meters instead of 6 meters. Flint and steel only works on dropped pallets that are not broken. It used to work on even upright pallets, so you could see people like across the entire map. It was busted. And then this now only works within a 24-meter radius instead of outside of a 32-meter radius. So yeah, just overall nice changes and a slight buff here to make this one a little bit more useful. I forget what this does in particular, but yeah, I know that a lot of these were kind of nuts. So yeah, add-on changes are good, but I think the base kit changes, they kind of fumble the bag a bit. Now, to play devil's advocate, it is a PTB, right? It's hard to gauge the strength of killers. And it's also hard to make meaningful changes from PTB to live because there's only like a week between them having the PTB out, getting feedback, and then being able to implement those changes, right? Because they have to go through console certification, they have to bug test and do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it makes sense for the amount of time that they had. I just wish we got something a little better. Personally, I'm not going to be playing the Knight for more than like a week. Just because he's not my kind of killer, not necessarily because of the PTB changes or anything, but literally just because I don't really like to play killers who just zone survivors by existing. I just find that to be kind of uninteresting and boring, and all the changes they've made kind of just incentivize survivors to hold W. So yeah, that's my post-PTB changes rundown. Overall, I'd say it's okay. They did a decent job. They addressed some of the bigger concerns that players had, of course, with the map being really hard to see on. So yeah, I think overall it's an okay blog post. I just kind of wish that the Knight got a little more, but we'll have to wait and see how things go. Who knows? Maybe the Knight, very similar names. The Knight might get some changes in like a couple months, but that's a bit of copium considering the artist and the Onryo and the Dredge are still sitting with their hands empty and their pockets turned out. So we will see how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Thanks for watching.